There is an island in the very center of Minsk, beautiful and sad at the same time, the island of courage and sorrow, but we call it the island of tears, a place of memory for those who in peaceful time had to be in the midst of hostilities in Afghanistan and had to fight for a foreign country and incomprehensible values. Afghan war was the last one in which Belarusians massively participated and died, but whose was this war? This video is not about the facts of the Cold War, not about who was right or who was wrong. It's about the memory of our soldiers, the price they paid for someone's decision. It's about human tragedy and mother's pain. I'm Natalia, your insider in Belarus, and welcome to my channel.
On the 15th of February 1989, the last soldier crossed the bridge and left lands of Afghanistan. That's how almost 10 years of undeclared war were over. But the soldiers coming back home suddenly ended up on the island with their problems. 30,000 Belarusians participated in this war. 1,680 they became handicapped. 771 they died on the lands of Afghanistan. But also there were many of them who committed suicide, died on the streets of the city, became alcohol addicts. And there were many of them. But why it's happened? Let's start from the very beginning.
Afghanistan. At that time there was a civil war in the country, and the leadership of Afghanistan repeatedly asked the USSR for help. As a result, after long hesitation, on December 25 the USSR is leading its troops to Afghanistan. It was said, "You are going there for a couple of months to fulfill the international duty and protect the southern borders of USSR. If we don't do it, the United States will enter Afghanistan and attack our beloved homeland."
19-year-old boys went to the army for the compulsory service and suddenly ended up in Afghanistan, in 3,000 kilometers away from their home. They dreamed to be the heroes, like their fathers, but some returned back in zinc coffins. It's impossible to become a soldier within one day. You have to be trained physically and mentally. And those boys who yesterday went to the theater with their mothers, today were given with guns and knives and had to kill. Their life will never be the same again.
From 1979 to 1989, Soviet troops engaged in a devastating war in Afghanistan that claimed thousands of casualties on both sides. While the Soviet Union talked about a peacekeeping mission, the deaths were shipped back in sealed zinc coffins.
This war was kept in secret. It was not announced to the society, and there were no news on television, nothing was published in newspapers, and even parents of those sons who served in the army were not informed that their sons were in Afghanistan lands. Their officers who came back for short vacation, they didn't share the information about military actions they participated in Afghanistan because it was forbidden. And only mothers who got their sons in zinc coffins were left with their truth alone. It wasn't allowed to put a phrase on the gravestone that the soldier died in Afghanistan fulfilling his international duty. That was the real truth.
This temple monument was erected for the sons who died in Afghanistan on behalf of Belarusian mothers who don't want evil to prevail in their own or foreign lands. Of course, the worst tragedy of this war is the tragedy of mothers who lost their sons. Here, as a tall candle, a monument chapel rises in the center of this island. The monument is based on figures of grieving mothers. They were gathered here by a common tragedy that knocked in their doors. Some are holding icons, others hold portraits of their sons, their mothers in front hold lamps, symbols of warmth and light. They still hope for the return of their sons. Those behind have already lost the last hope. They froze, petrified with grief, and the earth is soaked with the mother's tears. We can't imagine today that the mothers, mad with pain, were sneaking into the cemeteries at night, opening coffins to make sure their sons were there.
I want to recommend you one book, Boys in Zinc, written by the winner of Nobel Prize in Literature, S.Aleksievich. This book blew up my mind long ago and I couldn't sleep for weeks. This book presents honest testimonies of soldiers, mothers, doctors and nurses, wives, telling us about lasting effects of war. Weaving together their stories, S.Aleksievich shows us the truth of Soviet-Afghan conflict, telling us about the shame of returned veterans, horrors and beautiful moments of everyday life, and worries of those who left behind. There were many who wanted to know the truth, the real truth, and after they got it, they preferred to forget about it. And there were many of them. Boys in Zinc, book by S.Aleksievich. I will leave a link below this video and you can find this book in English in Amazon. Crying guardian angel in the image of boy, the protector of the soldiers during Afghanistan war, and he's crying for those soldiers who suffered from mental and physical wounds. Post-traumatic stress disorder many of soldiers had, and unfortunately the leadership of Soviet Union turned its back to the problems of these soldiers and they were left alone. We can see their mutilated bodies, but we cannot see the scars on their souls.
This memorial was constructed as an island very symbolically, because people who went through the Afghan hell, returning to their homeland, honestly fulfilling their duty, ended up on the island of misunderstanding, on the island of blindness and deafness to their needs, to their problems. Now Afghans, that's how we call these soldiers, they are unrecognized heroes, forgotten heroes. There are 14 boulders in this part of the island with the names of the Afghan provinces where Soviet troops were stationed and fought. On February 15, they were covered with flowers.
So this is the meeting point during the funeral meeting of the mothers and soldiers. They come here, they play guitar and sing Afghan songs and drink shots of vodka to commemorate all those heroes who never came back home.
Whatever the political goals of this war, it's obvious to everyone today that the entry of troops into Afghanistan has damaged the authorities of the state, worsened relations between the USSR and Western countries. Unfortunately, the admission of the mistake about the deployment of troops to Afghanistan didn't bring relief to the families who lost their relatives and friends there, didn't restore health to those who were left with disabilities. And in Afghanistan today the situation remains tense. I hope that you watched this video with an interest, and don't forget to subscribe, put your likes and you're very welcome to become my patron to support my project about Belarus. See you soon!